Welcome to the Road is Dead podcast, episode number 114. I'm your host here, Rob Curtis, and joining me in the studio today is
Leah, Sanda.
And remotely we have
Tim Strelecki.
And middle of cross season. When I say middle, is it middle? Maybe towards
Depends on what country you live in.
Well, for us here,
Yeah.
I would say we're in the middle. We've done
ABD was number 3, right?
Yeah.
For the Cross
Was it?
Cup.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, the big racing started off in early September. So,
Well, we still have, I think there's 9 races this year, 8 races this year.
9.
Is it 9?
9.
And we've
Third of
done
the way
3.
in.
We've still got Campton, 2 days with us, the one at the Forge,
Wheeling.
and then Montrose. So 6 more races. Yeah. So 9. Yeah. We still got a lot of racing left. It's like we just started it, which is good because after this last weekend, I'm going to need a little bit of a boost. So I had a crap weekend, but we can skip mine for now. Let's recap.
Let's dive into that. I looked at your finished place today. Tell the story.
Story.
You got 5 minutes. Go.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
I love that course. I love that course. I've always loved that course. I have done well there more times than not. And for some reason, not a great race this time around. I did a warm-up, was good, felt okay. I think I've been fighting something maybe for the last couple of weeks. I've just been really draggy and tired and I got at least one tooth that's bugging me and it's hard to sleep sometimes. And you put it all together and I don't know, maybe I've got a bug that's been hanging around, maybe not, I don't know. But it just wasn't there. Had a lot of fun though. I passed a lot of people and then I got passed by a lot of people. So it was a race of passing, a lot of passing. It was kind of funny because there'd be guys that would pass me and just go for it and keep going. And they were like almost out of sight. And then they would slide out on something. And I'd just kind of, turtle my way around, the tortoise, slow and steady. And
what tires did you use?
I used Grifos. And once again, this was another experience where for our race being the second race of the day, it was in the 30s for the first race of the day.
Oh, the grass was frosty. Out. Yeah.
And they went ahead and raced. It was supposedly like 38, 40 by the time we started. And at least twice now, I have found for our race, during our race, the conditions degrade. So it's like,
makes sense.
It's like our specific race where it goes from first lap was 100% traction and hookup everywhere. And then by the end, there were corners where if you touched your brakes, they were like power sliding through stuff. So it was very slick. It tacked up and dried out through the day. But at least for us, it went from full traction to really slick by the end of it. Which played havoc for a lot of people. I went out and pre-rode it the day before, and I had my Little Birds on, thinking I was going to run those. And just like the one year when I was out there with Muds, too much traction. There's so much grass there. And so pre-riding it, I was like, there's too much traction. After racing it, so I put my Grifos on 38s, but after riding it, I really probably should have had the Little Birds on. And because I did lose a lot of traction towards the end. Well,
you wish you had a set of Fangos.
Speaking of those special release Fangos that they did, we got a bunch in and they are gone. I was lucky enough to get back to them. I now have 6 more sitting around. So if anybody hears this and they're wanting a set, let me know. Because I have a feeling, all the fervor that was there, everybody's gotten theirs that wanted to. And I'm probably going to be sitting on these for, a while. So if you do happen to want some, let me know. I do have 3 sets sitting around the shop.
Nice.
They're cool. They're cool looking. I wish I had a set of wheels I could throw them on right now for myself just to play around with them. They would have been great out there, but whatever. So interesting, fun. The last lap coming off of Heckle Hill, the switchbacks there,
Mm-hmm.
no problems with them for the rest of the day. For some reason, I walked into that. I went into it that last lap like I was a giraffe, baby giraffe. It just nothing was working and just sliding everywhere. And I don't remember where, but at some point I just went down, and which kind of sucked because I had worked my way back and picked off somebody. I went down, they went past me, and then two more guys went past me. So I gave up 3 spots in the last lap and wasn't able to get them back. And ended up only beating 2 guys that finished the race. There were a couple that DNF'd. So yeah, okay, I beat them, but not according to the results, because I think they listed them as DNS even instead of DNF. So I wish it could have gone a lot better. But 2 races that kind of sucked for me in successive weeks. So instead of, pulling back and going, maybe I need to recover, maybe I need to do this or that, I'm going to race twice this weekend. So I'm going to race in Wisconsin on Saturday, and then I'm going to race in Campton, which may be muddy on Sunday. So we'll see. But I try not to get upset about it like I have been, and I've been feeling strong. Like Tuesday, I felt like I completely rounded the corner on whatever I got, and I felt super strong. We went out and did the group ride, and we went way slow because we had some newer people on the ride. We wanted to make sure that they knew where all the turns were. But the few seconds where we did let it go, we had a hell of a tailwind that day. So I set a couple records for myself, and I am now 3rd for the whole year going up Weber Road climb. So
Red flag.
No. Winds
out of the south.
Yeah, we were going up it. So it was a tailwind.
Coming back north.
So
right. Wind was at our back.
Yep.
Flag.
Why?
Because it's a tailwind.
Yeah.
Tailwind assist.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I'd red flag you on Strava 100%.
Dustin's got the first position. He's tied with somebody else, and then I'm listed as 3rd. Anthony led me out for a bit of it. He goes, let's see what we can do. And he dumped what he had, and I was kind of running into the back of him, which I knew I was going to towards the midway, and I was trying to tell him to pull off, and I just yelled go. Well, he heard go, and so he got out of the saddle and just started just crushing it, and ended up he did 5 seconds over 1,000 watts or something going up that, and I just held his wheel, and then he died, and I just motored on past and set some records for myself too going up it. So it was fun. But I mean, that was Tuesday, so it's there. Fitness is still there. It just, for some reason, it's not coming out on the cross course right now. But it was fun. The whole first lap, I could hear people behind me and see them behind me. I raced hard the whole race. Kurt Benson worked hard, and he got around me at the end of the first lap. And you could tell he was really, really happy because he outturned me. And he came in under me just like I had taught him how to do at practice.
Nice.
And he underturned me and got me. And I was like, I was happy for him. I was like, good job, Kurt.
Yeah.
And then we went a little bit further. I was like, I'll just sit behind him. I guess that's that. And then he just died. He just died out. And it was like, okay, hate to do this, Kurt, but I got to pass you. So I did end up beating Kurt overall. He's one of the guys. So I felt kind of good about that. But I don't know. We'll see what this weekend goes. Campton's one of my favorite races, of our series. So I don't know. What about you guys?
I had a really good race. Obviously, as you both know, I won the Cat 3.
What's that like?
I wasn't, I honestly, I was a little surprised by how good I felt. And compared to King's Cross, now in hindsight, I can see that I was still carrying a ton of fatigue from all my big mile week at King's, because I had power for days on Sunday, and I was able to jump out of the saddle out of every turn and hammer up every little incline and the whole race. And I felt glorious. I felt so good, and I had a really clean race, and I won pretty comfortably with a good sized gap, a field of 28. And there's strong girls in this field. So I was like, oh, all right, that's good.
Ladies.
I mean, kind of ladies, women. I am pretty happy with that, and I hope this is a indication of things starting to really come together.
You're
for
going to
me.
end up in the porta potty on the wall of shame.
All right, no, hold on. No, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
We're not
going to
do that yet.
We're going to get to that. Yes. Okay. So that was my race. Tim, how about yours?
Well, hold on. Before you go to that, when you said you jumped out of the saddle, out of the turns and stuff, Tim's been saying that to us pretty much all year. I do want to say you were in my head when I was coming out of the woods. Every time I came out of the woods, those long switchbacks, that were kind of uphill, downhill. Every corner, I especially last lap, I was jumping up, getting on it, and coming back down. Didn't do me much, but at least I was trying.
It just, you only have to get out of the saddle for a couple pedal strokes, and then it's so much easier to keep your speed. Even though you have to get up and get out of the saddle and give it a little bit, you'll maintain your speed more than you would if you're seated trying to build that power or build that speed. Just a couple cranks, 3, 4, 5 cranks, and then sit back down, and that's all you got to do. And make sure you're in the right gear.
I just wanted to throw that in. Oh, and I was trying to do that too. I was trying to mentally, I was downshifting and then upshifting in advance for each one of those turns. I was practicing it there. But to be honest with you, like what I was saying before, where I think when I downshift early and I don't come out heavy out of the corners, I go slower coming out of those corners. Leg speed just isn't there, or I don't pick it up. And just because it's easy, I don't pick it up. I go faster if I'm over geared coming out of those corners. It's just a crappy way of riding, and apparently I do that. So
you should stand up if that's your way you feel fast. You should stand up out of every corner.
And I should heavy gear it. Yeah. So that's just so I'm thinking about what you've been saying.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there. But nice. Tim, your races.
Yeah. Oh, my race was good. I mean, in a field, it was nice to see actually the 1, 2, 3 field be, I think it had almost 30 people in it, which was cool. Good mix of, top shelf guys and guys that are, I'll say cat threes coming in the field and getting their toes wet and stuff like that. So that was cool, because I looked at the entry list to see who was there, and it was a good mix. So, for me, it was just try to work on a few things, try to hang with Nate Knowles and Roscoe if I could. And I did for a little while. And then they were like, well, nobody hung with Nate because Nate got a ripper of a start, and he was out for the longest time. And then I was, I think I had a 4th place start, and then I got stuck behind 2 slower guys, and Nate was just steadily riding away at his tempo. And then I got around those 2 guys, one right at the barriers on the first lap, and then one right after Heckle Hill on the first lap. And then I think Roscoe was following my lead. And then we slowly started to bring Nate back. And I think on like lap 3 or 4, Roscoe could sniff that Nate was like right there. And heading into the woods and the first set of woods, he shouted on your left, and then he straight up just dropped me. I could hear he was like, just like 4 downshifts, and I was like, 20-year-old legs, see you later, dude.
Yeah.
And he bridged to Nate really quick, and I kept him between the 6 and 9 second mark for the majority of the race, and then I fell apart kind of on the penultimate lap. And made some mistakes and was just getting a little bit of fatigue. And then it was the penultimate lap and the last lap where they got me considerably. But third, I'll take third on the day. It's good, to lose to those kids that I've been racing since they were, young teenagers, 13, 14 years old, and now the shoe's on the other foot. So if I can hang with them for a little while, it feels pretty good.
Yeah. I was in the pits.
Thank you for that.
I didn't fully communicate that to you, but you seemed like you were in the zone before you rolled up, so I didn't want to interrupt you. But I had told Darcy, I was like, if you see him, just let him know I'm running to the pits. But I knew you'd figure it out, and I knew you probably wouldn't need a bike.
Well, my peripheral told me, like, I see white bar tape, and I see that my bike is vertical. Somebody's holding it. And then once coming around, I, like 2 or 3 laps in, I like peeked over and I saw it was you. I was like, okay, good.
Yeah. So I was watching it from the pits for the whole time, and I forgive me, but I don't remember the name of the gentleman that is usually pitting for Nate, his buddy.
Scotty.
Scotty, yeah.
So great guy, nice guy.
Yeah,
I've been
he's a
hanging
good
out with
kid.
him for
Yeah.
pretty much all season, even down at Inglewood and everything else, working pits. And he said he was like Nate wanted to just burn it,
Oh,
from the
he did.
start,
He
and
did.
he really wanted to have a really good start and just lay wood from the start,
Yeah.
and he did. He did exactly what he was wanting to do. And then I was talking to G about Roscoe, and
Hmm.
Roscoe's plan apparently was he just said he knew Nate was on form, and he wanted to just go and sit on Nate and just prove to himself that he could sit with him
Hmm.
and run with him. Not necessarily win. He said he'd be perfectly happy with second place if he could just sit on Nate because he knew Nate was on good form, and that would tell him a lot about where he was at, for his fitness and everything. So
Well,
watching that play out was interesting, but
yeah,
it played out
so
exactly the way they wanted.
I'm happy, but at the same time, kind of bummed that I couldn't have been in that fight because I think I could have added a different old man's kind of element to it.
Right,
A little bit more experience, not necessarily better experience, just different experience.
right.
But obviously I wasn't able to, so it's kind of a moot point. But it was, from what I was seeing, they weren't too far ahead, and I was like, if I could just link some things up or find, that extra gear to get there, I could maybe do something, but it
Right,
never happened.
right,
But yeah, I mean, two UCI level racers, what are you going to do? You
right,
know,
right.
I've their combined age is still 5 years younger than
It's
me.
Yeah. I was going to say, you've got at least 20 years on the
Yeah,
eldest.
yeah,
Like 22, 23 years on the eldest
yeah.
of the two of them. So it's
But I
no
mean,
small feat.
I knew I mean I didn't have any like after seeing what Nate's been doing at the UCI level and then, seeing what Roscoe's been doing, locally and how strong he really is and how good he's riding. I really was like, I was realistic about it. Like it would be, it'd be really good if I could win, but I didn't have any thoughts of it.
Right, right.
But,
I get it.
you,
It
you're
was a
in the
hell of a
fight.
race. I thought you did great. It
Yeah,
was fun
thanks.
watching it.
You're in the fight until you're not in the fight, and that's all you
Yeah.
can do.
I did want to bring up, not necessarily about your race. Sorry, I'm changing gears slightly
That's
here,
fine.
but I was thinking about the course, and I did want to say because Jim apparently listens to every episode, so I
He
did
was
want to
mad at me.
say, yeah, for calling it a grass crit.
No, I sent him a all jokes aside text that when I got home because
All right.
I'll be honest, like not, I don't mean to cut you off, but I thought personally it raced a lot better than it pre-rode for me.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
better at race speed than it was at pre-ride speed,
I
which is what you
think,
want.
yeah. I don't know what necessarily was massively different this year, because a lot of the elements were the same, but to me, it was the best iteration of what I'll call this course that I've seen
Yeah,
out there. It was really, really good. That start was very flowy.
yeah,
Those turns were laid out better than they've been laid out, in my opinion, in the
yeah. He
past.
he sent. I do know that normally when we burn at the start you go up down, and then you head that long way out towards on the path, usually on the
Right.
on the pavement
Yeah.
path. He sent that out way far,
Way far
way
and
farther than
over
it's ever been.
with a couple turns.
Yeah, so that was different. And then I think the little bit of twisty bits after Heckle Hill was a little different.
Yeah.
And then maybe coming out of Woods number two was slightly different.
Yes. Yeah. I liked that section out of the woods too.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
liked the way they laid out Heckle Hill. I thought was probably one of the best layouts they've ever done.
I mean
It
that,
just kind of rolled
yeah,
well.
that hill is always slow just because it's so small and you
Yeah.
have to really like pack it in. But I agree, it did roll pretty good.
Yeah. So
Different story if it's wet.
yeah, it would have been all day of running for a lot of people, I think, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. So I think it played well. I think it rolled well, and then thankfully for me, they took out the log in the woods, and then they took out the log in the other woods. So two logs gone.
Thankfully for
Thankfully,
everybody.
yeah, it was too much when you had those two plus everything else. In my opinion,
I
I don't
did.
like the barriers before Heckle Hill. and then the two logs, the two logs that both of you guys just jumped them all day without even thinking about. I can't get myself to do it. I just can't get myself to do it. I know I'll clear it, but I just can't get myself to do it. And as a result, I watched more than one position right away from me because of that on more than one lap.
You could do it. You could front wheel, back wheel.
Oh, I know I could, but I just in the moment, and I tried to get myself to multiple times. I was like, I know I can do this. Just
yeah.
And I would roll up to it, and last second I would just hit the brakes and jump off. And
it's okay.
I do have to say, on the first time, I think I mentioned this to you, Leah, but I mentioned it a couple of people, but I got over the second one, first lap, remounted, and there was something in the way between my saddle and my leg that I landed on, and it did not feel good at all. And I ended up like taking a beeline.
Squash the grapes a little bit?
Yeah.
You making wine?
Hard. And that hurt. And I ended up doing just a beeline towards like Kenny's tent, like from one side of the course to the other. And like 4 people passed me. And I was trying to just gain my breath back. And then it was like, now I got to descend and get over into the woods. But, that started the race kind of on a sour note.
Oof,
so,
yeah, I would imagine.
And then the next lap I had been fighting a guy off, and I hit those. I dismounted, and he just jumped both of them and took off, and that was the last I saw of him. So I got to figure that one out. I'm never going to hop the barriers at the bottom of Heckle Hill. I'm just not.
They're really not that much bigger than the logs.
I understand, but I have seen so many people biff it there that it's just not worth it for me. I don't want to get hurt and miss a lot of the season.
Yeah, I ran those. I looked at it and I was just like, if I had a chance to really practice it, I knew on the log you can always roll it from the back wheel. You get the front over and then the back will just follow, right?
Yeah.
If I fucked up on the barriers, that makes me nervous because it could just come to a complete stop there if I didn't get the second hop.
Yeah. It's always, you always see, like, everyone looks at them, especially at this race. People are like, I see it in pre-rides. People are like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they take like, little bitch runs up to it, like 7 or 8 little bitch runs, and then they send it and they just kill themselves. I'm just like,
completely.
You poor
Yard
soul.
sale it. Yeah.
Just like, if it's not there, just run it.
Yeah.
Like, really.
And that's all that's going through my mind half the time, because it's like I just don't want to get hurt and lose however many weeks healing up.
Totally the way you should go about thinking about it, because Dan Teeters from Wisconsin. I don't know, listeners, if you know who
Great
Dan
example.
Teeters is.
Yep.
He's a super great guy, great solid competitor, and he broke himself off at Trek trying to do the barriers. And we were rolling around right before they started calling the staging, and he and I were having a conversation, and he was talking about that and wanting to hop the barriers. And I was like, that's good, you can get over one, but there's another one right after it. You got to make sure you can get over both of them. And long story short, Dan is now season out with a collarbone break.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, if you're not sure you can do it 100% of the duration of your race, do not do it.
And don't be afraid to change it up. If you have been doing it and then you're getting tired, don't assume because you cleared them with ease the first couple laps that you're going to do it for the rest of the race. I will say though that this year, what fitness I have is paying off, because this year I was able to go over the barriers, run up the hill, remount, and I wasn't completely redlined. And that's definitely a change from previous years. So I was happy about that. So
those are the little nuggets. Those are the little takeaways you got to have from races where you don't get the result that you want. If you have some positives to take away, that's all you can ask for.
My heart rate this season hasn't been creeping up to where it used to all the time for cyclocross. It's not even getting near my max or anything like that. So I'm either not pushing myself, or I'm still fighting something off, or I'm too fatigued, or something's going on. But I have a feeling I'm just not pushing myself in some of those sections. Who knows?
Could be.
Anyway, so great course. Happy about that. Towards the end, or midday, I had a longtime listener roll up to the tent and say, "Hey, dude, have you been in the porta potties?" It's like, well, yeah, I mean, based on the story from the last week, yeah, I was there first thing in the morning.
Oh yeah.
But why? And he said you need to go check it out, and we will make this printout our cover for this episode. But it was a piece of paper marked or posted in all the porta potties. They were all the same, and it was listed as the CCC Wall of Shame with a cop car on the top. And right underneath it says, in quotes, "What are you, the upgrade police?" So this is the 2024 version of the Sandbagger call out. And I got to say, I'm ecstatic about it. I absolutely love it. I love when people call out sandbaggers. For those that don't completely know what a sandbagger is, somebody who's staying in lower level races longer than they should. And, we can talk about why people, what their motivations are on it. I know I've got a completely different viewpoint than maybe Tim, you do. I know I usually hear you say something like, why would anybody want to stay down there? You want to challenge yourself and get better and faster. The reality is a lot of people realize that they're not fast enough to do well in better categories, and they are having success in the lower ones, and they just want to stay, and they want to get more victories, more podiums. And
it's an ego thing.
Yeah. But it always comes back to the fact that, at the end of the day, who really cares about you winning a Cat 5 race? No one. No one cares that you won a Cat 5 race. So anyway, this particular
I believe it's called novice.
That's true. Very good point. Very good point. I need to get up with this.
You're the best of the worst.
Yeah.
That is my heckle, by the way. When they come around, when the Cat 5s come around, whoever is the first place, as they're coming around, I will start yelling, "Congratulations, you are the best of the worst.
You are leading the worst category. Good for you."
Yeah, and it's like, it's time to upgrade. Well, I'll hit that in a little bit here, but
I actually did some digging into this. I went into the USA Cycling page and read up on upgrades and all that stuff. It was pretty interesting.
So, what was unique about this one is it called out two riders specifically and gave some background info. One's a Cat 3 with 28 mandatory upgrade points. Should be a Cat 2. Earned their Cat 2 upgrade in September, and but hasn't requested it. And then the other one kind of cut deep, but this is Wayne Klingler, who did you meet Wayne when he came out to our practice?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So that's him.
Okay.
But he came out to our cross practices just to learn some techniques and stuff. But a longtime mountain bike racer, got a lot of fitness, was doing really well at our practices and everything. Apparently he's converted that into a lot of success, and he's had success over multiple years. He's still a Cat 5.
He should be a Cat 4.
He should absolutely be a Cat 4. So I don't know if anybody didn't explain that to him or what's going on, but anyway, and I love how they got on the radar is Andrew Graham with 20 points already. So this is the threat has gone out, and then there's a website. There was a website and a QR code on it. The website is chicagocx.com, all one word, chicagocx.com. And the tagline is "No glory for sandbaggers." Discuss.
Well, it is interesting that whoever's doing this is staying anonymous, so we don't know who's posting this. I mean, what's to discuss? It is what it is.
Well, I mean, how do you guys feel about it? What do you think about it? Is it interesting? Is it needed? Is it good? Is it bad?
I mean, it brings some entertainment to the series, but at the end of the day, even if you're calling them out, they're not gonna upgrade.
Oh no, they will.
because
They will feel the
because
social pressure.
there's nobody slapping them on the wrist and telling them they need to upgrade, or no one at registration going, oh, this guy's flagged for a mandatory upgrade. When he comes to check in, guess what? I'm handing him his Cat 2 registration
You
form.
can't do anything in Reg, though. I will say you can't do anything in
Well,
Reg.
I would agree with that. Yes, you can't do anything in Reg, but I don't understand why the system can't have a way to recognize that somebody has
Like
the mandatory points and reach
yeah,
out to them and say, unless you're in the middle of a series and the CCC is not a series, but like if you're doing toad or grit or something like that, that's all under one permit, then you can finish in your category. Otherwise you are upgraded.
Yeah, I will say, if you do have any questions, go to chicagocx.com, that website there, and they have a frequently asked questions section that covers a lot of things that I don't think people realize, or a lot of myths that have been spread about upgrading. But yeah, especially the series part, that's explained. If it's not under the same permit, like one permit for the number of events, then it's not a series.
Yeah.
So,
and why does it matter? Does it really matter at the end of the day? Somebody would say, who cares?
The only reason why it matters for a series is because if you're doing a toad and you're on the top of that and there's a payout for the whole series, you want to be able to win the whole series.
Right.
That's the point.
That's obvious. I'm talking about why does sandbagging matter? Why does anybody really care? And it really, to me, it's disrespectful to the other people in that category to give them an opportunity to earn upgrade points because they would also like to cat up. So you need to move up so that other people have opportunities to gain those upgrade points. Where I think it crosses a line is when people get harassed to upgrade just because they had one or two good races and they clearly don't have the upgrade points yet to upgrade. I think they should be allowed to continue racing in their category until they have the points.
Yeah.
To upgrade. I don't think we need to shove people out because they had one good day or two good days. I mean, but so, there's a line between what's a sandbagger. A sandbagger is somebody, okay, you've clearly you've got the mandatory, you've got beyond the mandatory upgrade points. Now you're just sitting here hanging out. Then it's time to give them a gentle push.
It's one of those things where you know it when you see it, kind of thing. If you've been around the sport long enough, when you look at the results of some people, you just go, okay, that's a sandbagger. Don't hang around and be sandbagging your performance. There's a fine line in some of it, I think. It's not, and this is to answer your question, why isn't there the system just like immediately either upgrade people or do other, it can't. And because there's always extenuating circumstances. Every time I have seen, and I've been around long enough where I've seen USA Cycling go through multiple iterations of an upgrade policy and trying to enforce it or do this or do that. And in every instance and iteration, there's been massive failures because something doesn't fit the rules. We used to have an upgrade coordinator in every local association. LAs are LAs are groups of where your clubs belong to. They're your local association within USA Cycling. Here in Illinois, we have one called the Illinois Cycling Association, the ICA, and we used to have an upgrade coordinator for the ICA a few years back when we had the shoe guy as a CEO and he didn't see the point in the LAs. He moved a lot of functions that were done in the LAs back into corporate. Upgrading was one of them. So back in the day when you had a local representative or a local associate, you could they would be at the races. They would see through their own eyes, how that person was racing. And if they knew or they got the feeling, they could just upgrade the person. They could see their performance and their results, and they could just, as you were there at the race. There's all these great stories of the old ones where they'd say, hey, come here right after a race. And you used to have to present, you'd be like, hey, give me your license. And they'd put a new sticker on it, and you were already upgraded. That's how upgrades were done back in the day. There's a lot to be said about that because you can't necessarily put I'll say that you can't put a computer system on it and have it be accurate and have it make the right decisions.
Right.
That being said, there's some egregious situations. If you've got twice or three times the mandatory points, you're upgraded. That should just happen. It should just automatically go through, whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, why do people need to upgrade? Because the people behind them, it is demoralizing to the people behind them, whether they realize it or not. We had for years, I remember we had people in the 4Bs who would race and get the same top 10 year after year after year. And it's like, it's 4Bs. That was before we had a Cat 5 or a novice, to use the correct nomenclature. Novice, so these were entry-level people, and yet they were staying in our entry-level race for multiple years. And there was 10 races in the CCC per year back then, and some of them were in the top 10 of the 4Bs for 3 years. Now, at that point, when you did 10 races, you were allowed to request a Cat 3 upgrade. And they never upgraded. So we had people in the 4Bs, which is supposed to be the easiest race of the day at the time, who were there for, at least 20 extra races over their time that they were supposed to be there, that were decimating everyone, that would just stay there. And the rest of us, and at the time I was placing in the top 20, at least my first year. And it was very demoralizing. I could have gotten in the top 10 if they had moved on. You know what I mean? And it became pretty clear soon after that that was the very beginning of the cross explosion. And soon after that, when more and more people came in, what we ended up with people that were legitimately mid to high level Cat 3s, maybe even low level Cat 2s, that were staying in the Cat 4s, just because they knew they could win races. And it wasn't just one or two of them, it was a lot of them. Now, we did work during the pandemic, and when we came back in 21, we have a season, whatever our first season back, where it wasn't technically the CCC, but us promoters put on races anyway.
21.
We were allowed to do our own thing because it was our own race. It wasn't series bound. So we tried new categories. And one of the ideas that I had along with Steve Fury was the idea of doing a 3-4 race. And to me, because we had 4s and 5s that were staying in the 4s and 5s, well, specifically the 4s, because the last 2 races of the day were 4 and 4-5. They were both a half an hour apiece. They knew that they could enter both races and they could race back to back for an hour. And those guys that were in it, that's the thing. Those guys that were in it didn't want to give that up. And as a result, we ended up with a lot of them that were at the top end of that were there for multiple years. They're Cat 3s. We know that they're Cat 3s because you're not winning at that for multiple years unless you're a Cat 3 by definition. You know what I mean? So it was one of these where I was like, how do we fix this? And how do we give the beginners an actual beginner race? We do that with Cat 5 now. It's Cat 5 only. We changed the 4s race to only 4s. We still kept that. So you can race at the end of the day and just a Cat 4 race. And then we created the 3-4 race. That was an opportunity for everybody that was, hey, I'm good as a 4. I can race more than once in a day now still. And I can dip my toe in the water of possibly being a Cat 3 and seeing what that's like. And because of that, we've had a lot of momentum of people going into the 3s since we made that switch. It's also the largest field we have of the day is our 3-4 race. So I think that that's been a success, and it's helped some people upgrade and move on. To your point, when you said that the 1-2s, 1-2-3 race was one of the largest we've had in a long time, and it's because a lot of those guys that are in that 3-4 race are now being asked on the side or whatever. There's been a lot of talk of people going, hey, can you please go and race the Cat 3 race? Now that you're at the top of this 3-4 race every week, can you go race the 1-2-3 race? Step up and give it a shot. So I've heard some people trying to market and get people to step up and do that 1-2-3 race. And that's where we're seeing people starting to step up and do it. I think Mike Patton went and did it, I think, this week. So Patton? I think I'm doing that right. I don't know. Yell at me if I'm wrong. But so it's nice to see people upgrade. You should upgrade if you need to. If you aren't, at the same time, you can't go attacking people and telling them that they need to upgrade just because you don't like racing against them. Because here's the
Good
deal.
luck.
Not everyone deserves to get on a podium. In some of these small fields, there's a lot of pressure for some people to upgrade from the other competitors. They're tiny fields. These are tiny, tiny, tiny fields. So they want their chance and their opportunity to try to win or get on a podium or what. It's like, listen, in the big fields, some of us never get anywhere close to being on a podium. It's just the fact of life. Not everybody wins. So, and I would argue that even if you sit there and you win a tiny field more than a couple times over a few years, you still don't have the experience to move up to the next level. You just don't. As for whether or not, so that's the other thing is the reason why just set points don't work is because we'd have quality of fields issues. If you race here, this year it's been one of the largest years for Masters women, right? We have larger fields than we've had in a long time.
I think so, yeah.
But in previous years, there was 2-3 people that were racing it at times.
At times it would be pretty small, yeah.
And you can't get third in that and then compare that result to maybe somebody in a different area that's racing with a field of 20, that is week in, week out. It's just fundamentally different. That's why the points don't always apply unless you have a minimum field size and things like that. So I know for a lot of years, there were people up in Wisconsin that were upgrading to threes that were running in very small fields. And then they would come down to a populated area and be running in the threes and be completely outclassed. Maybe Wisconsin's a bad thing because Wisconsin riders tend to be stronger than Illinois riders. But I think you know what I'm saying. Not all the points acquired in every race around the country is equal. So you can't have just one policy that works perfectly for everywhere. But it's a human system. We get to choose who we upgrade, and we can also, I don't think we do enough downgrading is the other problem. Once we upgrade somebody, we just keep them there, and we don't talk about the option that you have of downgrading enough to where when people get there, get a year where they're not training, and they were barely in there to begin with, and now they haven't trained. The next year they come back and they're getting just trounced. A lot of them just lose the love of coming out and doing it because they're like, why am I doing this? I'm completely outclassed. And so they leave. Whereas if they were comfortable with the idea of downgrading, they could have downgraded, gone down, and maybe enjoyed racing again, been mid-pack in the category down, but now they can work their way back up and work themselves up into an upgrade again. I know some people, though, we've talked about it. Rich has talked about it. Rich absolutely refuses to take a downgrade in some stuff and will pay his license fee every year just so he can keep that Cat 2 or whatever on his license. I get it. You worked hard for it. It is what it is. But, I don't know. People have weird ideas about all this kind of stuff. Luckily, I don't have to worry about it because I'm never going to upgrade in anything.
Why is that?
Talent, skill, training, application.
DNA.
DNA is a big factor.
No, it's not. That's bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
That's bullshit.
I'm born descender and sprinter, and we don't have that around here.
I don't know.
That's an excuse.
I think, Rob, if you put together like the perfect year of doing everything right, you could get at a level to be a Cat 3. But yes. I don't think you want to do all the sacrifices and all the things that you would need to get there.
And that's the majority.
Okay. And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's a
majority.
But that's a big chunk.
People don't want to cat up.
Yeah.
They're not being forced to, and they don't want to. The people that want to chase those points, go to those big races, race those fields, and then they're gone. You never see them. You never see them again racing their old categories because they want to progress. The majority of sandbaggers don't want to progress. Correct. They're happy. They're comfortable. They got a warm, fuzzy blanket. They're happy marinating around the 10th spot, 15th spot, whatever. It's warm. It's cozy. It's fuzzy. and it's comfortable.
Like out of Tommy Boy, it's like a guarantee written on the box.
Exactly.
Keeps you warm and fuzzy at night, but next thing you know,
But the majority don't
money
want
missing
to,
and the daughter's knocked
unless
up.
they have goals and they're training consistently and they have coaches. They don't. A majority of people that are sandbagging they just don't want to. They don't have the drive. They don't have the mentality. They don't want to.
That brings up there's one particular racer that's in the Cat 5s and was coming through, and him and somebody else, whoever placed first and second this last week, they were so far in front of the field by lap. They had a huge gap on lap 1, but by lap 2, I mean, the rest of the field wasn't even in the same zip code. Not only that, they came flying into the barricades coming into Heckle Hill and just flying bunny hop both of those. No problem. It was Cat 5s. And, we all started in on our, it's my favorite is upgrading is not a crime. Just to kind of remind people it's not a bad thing to upgrade.
Heckling, that is.
Yes. And others, Jim's always like, upgrade, and calling people out just for not doing it. And I would say things like, congratulations on your upgrade. This guy stops, turns, and goes, this is my first fucking race in the middle of it as he rides away. I know for a fact, because I was heckling that guy at Jackson Park.
Oh, that's funny.
It was definitely not his first race. Turns out afterwards, somebody looked it up and goes, that was his third race. He's raced 3 times.
So he's raced the whole series so far.
Yeah. So when you've raced cross 3 times and you're that far in front of your field, it's time to upgrade.
Someone needs to serve him his upgrade papers right at the finish line.
And I made a note and sent it over to Brenda that night. But
that's ridiculous.
We can actually, but for a 5 to a 4, it's like it's an experience upgrade anyway. It's time to move on. If you're that far in front of the field, you have no problem bunny hopping these barriers, and you're just decimating everybody. It's time to move on. You can do exactly the same thing in the Cat 4s. There's nothing saying that you can't learn some lessons in the Cat 4s.
There's not, but apparently there's not too much of a difference.
He's a son of some phenom that Brad knows really well and was trying to defend. Oh, he hasn't had enough. Right. Like I said, a sandbagger when you see a sandbagger. It's time to move on.
Son of some phenom?
Yeah. Explain. Ask Brad.
Brad
he's
who?
got something. He's like, well, Dash? Yeah.
Oh.
Ask Brad. He was defending him all night. And it's like, no, sorry, Brad. You can't defend him. Time for him to upgrade.
I don't know. After 1 race, he's not a sandbagger. After 2 races, he's not a sandbagger. After 3,
Especially when he stops in the middle of it, turns around and says, it's my first fucking race.
Right.
No.
But I wouldn't, if he does the whole season as a 5, then that's like,
if he's still a 5
criminally negligent sandbagging
by the end of our weekend or wheeling, then he needs to be slapped on the wrist. I think he's
reached that tipping point where, okay, you've proven that you're good enough and you know what you're doing. You've done 3 races. We'll allow you maybe 2 more, 3 tops. And if you consistently doing this good, then if you haven't upgraded by then somebody needs to.
Well, okay. How many points do you get for a win? Tim, you said you were looking into it.
In the
I'd have to look
size,
I'd have to look at my phone, and I can't. That's how we're working here. It's like 5 points, I think.
Okay, so
5 points
it's 10
in a rolling 12-month.
Right, is your mandatory.
Yeah, is your mandatory.
10 is upgrade.
Yeah.
So right now, this kid, if he's won all 3, he's got 15 mandatory. I don't know that he's won all 3. I'm not saying that he has.
10 is upgrade from 5 to 4.
Yeah.
I didn't know they even had a points thing.
Yeah, they do. They have points.
Do they for 5 to 4?
5 to 4. I think it's like 5 or 10, and then it's 10, and then from like 3, 2 to 1, it's 20 points in a rolling 12-month span, plus in fields of X amount of riders or more.
Yeah.
Like field size plays a role into it as well. I don't know. Like you said, it's a touchy subject. It's a super touchy subject because no one's monitoring it. Like you said, Rob, you can't monitor it, and it's up to the individual. And some individuals are okay just being dicks and not caring about being a sandbagger. Like when I when I was competing in the War Series a couple years back. It was like my third year or second year in the War Series. I think it was my second year in the War Series. I was racing in the Cat 2s, and this isn't a flex here, but this is just facts. I did like the first race at Inglewood, and I think I won by like 4 or 5 minutes. And I was like, all right, I'm fucking sandbagging. I even called it out on my Instagram page. I did a post and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm sandbagging here. And I got in contact and I said, how do I do this? And I voluntarily upgraded myself because it just felt wrong.
Yeah.
Like it felt wrong to be doing that. I would rather be 15th in the elite field than win by 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's not fair. It's not fair to the people that are behind.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I had the opportunity to be a sandbagger, but I haven't. But I will say that I also felt guilty back in the day when I knew I had more than 10 races in. And I was like, I should go and be a 3 at this point. According to policy, I should upgrade. I am so glad I didn't, because they did come out with 5s. But okay, I just looked it up. So for cyclocross, novice to Cat 4 is either voluntary, you can request it at any point and become a Cat 4 immediately, or mandatory is 10 points in a 12-month period, or finishing 10 races.
Yes, that's the other one.
So if you finish 10 races, you're a 4.
You know what I thought was cool about the point system? That, really quickly, I thought that it was cool for novices. They could, if they went to clinics, they could earn upgrade points. I thought that was pretty cool.
You used to be able to, yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
It was definitely a track thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was.
It was a thing on the road too.
Yeah.
But people stopped doing clinics.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, I don't do it much anymore.
And it's funny because every year we say, "Oh, we'll put on some clinics, or we should get somebody to put on a clinic," and the last probably 5 clinics I've known them that have gone on, like on the road or whatever, are really sparsely attended. Almost no one's doing it. They're almost always geared towards the ones that do get decent attendance tend to be ones that are geared towards women's clinics. The men's clinics or open clinics, like no one. I don't know why.
A clinic on the road seems ridiculous to me.
Well, learning how to corner, learning how to ride in a pack for people that haven't done it.
That's why you race cyclocross, learn how to corner. I'm just kidding.
I can't hear you.
From 3 to 2, I thought it was 20.
It's 15 points in 12 months, mandatory.
Yeah. And then
or 2 wins in a field with 20 plus starters.
20 or more. Yeah. That's what I was alluding to.
So if you've won 2, it's same with Cat 4 to 3. So, and all of our fields have had more than 20 on the men's side for sure. So if you've been in if you're a Cat 4 man and you've won 2 races in the last 12 months, you're a 3. Time to upgrade. Yeah. If you're a 3 and you've done it, you're a 2. Time to upgrade.
When I went out to Cincinnati, one of the things I thought when I went out there was, it's going to be interesting to see if I get any upgrade points. And to say that I was so far away from getting an upgrade point wasn't even funny. I think I was like 17th one day and 14th another. And then I come back here and I do this race and I win it, out of a field of 28. And so I think I'm sitting on, I think I have 7 mandatory and 9 voluntary upgrade points right now. So, I went into this season curious whether or not I would end up being able to upgrade. And I say being able to upgrade because if I do get the points, I will 100% upgrade. So we'll see how the next
just shows you the difference of a national level Cat 3 versus a local level Cat 3. And I'm not taking
exactly.
I'm not shitting on your win.
No, I 100%, so I was just like, well, I did have an extraordinarily good day. Like I felt amazing compared to how I felt at Cincinnati. So, I just, kind of have that and then that. So now we'll see how, I'm going to go race in Wisconsin. And I'm going to do the women's, Cat 3-4 race up there. Not sure how big the field's going to be. I'm not racing on Sunday because I will be officiating at Campton. So
wise choice because it looks like it's going to rain.
Yeah.
I'm not super excited about getting all my gear muddy, to be honest with you. I just don't like it. I know some people really like racing in the mud, but I'm not a big fan. But I guess I'll wax my chain extra heavy. But talking, so like Wisconsin though is a good example. I'm going out to Wisconsin to race this weekend, and they have a 50 plus 4-5 field which I absolutely adore the idea of it. So my racing age is 51. I am still 49 years old. So this is like primo for me. Mm-hmm. It was nice. I registered a couple days ago, and because of the predictor, how it works, there was like 21 people registered, and I was predicted to come in like 4th or 5th. And I'm like, well, that's within the podium reach. I could go do that. And if I push myself, it's a possibility. And then, nice. Of course, pre-reg closed Wednesday night. And I looked at it this morning, and there's like 40 or 39 people pre-regged, and now I'm predicted in 16th. But 16th is still in the top half of the field. So if I get a top half 50%er, I'm going to be happy with that. That's for damn sure. What are you looking at now? You're looking at your prediction?
Yeah, I just want to see how many. I don't even know how many are in my race. I haven't looked at it since it closed.
But that's Kringle Cross up in Waukesha. Waukesha. This weekend. We're going to do that, and then it's followed by Campton. Campton, one of the original CCC races going way back in the day. I don't know the full history on the CCC for sure, but my understanding is Campton was one of the original races. Carpentersville was an original race as well too. So, but Carpentersville's gone now. It's kind of that crew is helping out with Wheeling and kind of picking up some of the help with that race. Wheeling used to be Mayless. Before that, it was going back to
Northbrook.
Yeah, Northbrook. It was a Northbrook cross back in the day, and I think that may have also been one with Chris Henning. That may have been one of the original series races as well too. I think they had 4 or 5 races the first year, maybe 4 races. But Hopkins Park was one of the other originals, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And I think Brian Conant was the one that kind of got that one going.
Interestingly, aside from some of the Masters races in the CCC, Carpentersville, the original Carpentersville, the year with the muddy pump track in the cornfield, was the only time I had ever gotten into a podium. And at that time, it was a women's 1-2-3 race. And I got, I think, nice. 3rd place in that race.
Nice.
And that's the only podium I'd ever gotten in the CCC outside of Masters until this past Sunday. So
I remember I got hurt pretty bad in that one, but not because of the pump track. Yeah. Pump track was fine. That was fun.
Awesome.
Did you do the year they did the pump track on the asphalt?
I didn't race it that year, and I know a lot of people crashed.
Oh yeah, that was a widowmaker. That was a lot of fun. But they had an asphalt or a concrete sidewalk kind of that they were a walking path that they ran you down, and then they took 2 lumps of asphalt and made a little pump track feature on it. These lumps of asphalt, and it just a lot of guys didn't know how to ride it, and I had to practice it. I hadn't ridden a pump track. I had to practice it. It wasn't that hard, but some people were just catching air or casing it on the second one. It was fun. Oh, yeah. It was fun to watch, but there were people that got pretty seriously hurt, so they moved it to the dirt in subsequent years, and they did a good job with that. I think.
Speaking of pump track,
that was good.
Tim, at King's Cross, that going into the woods, that first time with had those like, was it 3 or 4 pumps in a turn too.
Oh yeah, you came in. You came in.
You did like 2 pumps,
drop down, and then you drop down again. You turn right, and then you hit one big roller into a ditch. Came out and hit, like, while you're turning, you hit a big whoop and another big whoop, and then you exited the section.
Sprinted so hard into that section because it was so fun. It was so fun. I love that.
Yeah, Kings was like a pump track. It was ear to ear smiles the whole time because it brought me back, and I was like, I love this. This is great. Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Sorry, I'm trying to read some. Apparently, there's been some comments out on the CCC page. I haven't had a chance to read.
I read that. It's nothing.
What? Okay, so nothing.
I mean, someone's complaining about the start. Someone's complaining about someone calling someone out, or someone saying like, hey, please race a different field, and then there's congratulatory posts in there, unless there's exponentially more. When I saw there was only like 8 comments.
Well, 8 comments, wow, I didn't even know.
Yeah,
awesome.
But
I'm looking forward to that. I need to go read that afterwards. We are recording this on Halloween. It is currently, I don't know. My wife's telling me she ate bad today. 4:09 p.m. So we're going to need to wrap this up and get out there with the trick-or-treaters and enjoy some costumes. Anybody wearing any costumes this weekend? I know, Leah, you usually dress up as something. I dress up as a horrible cyclocross racer.
I'll be dressing up as a USA Cycling official.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I think I have a wig that if I can make it work, I might be wearing that Sunday.
Nice.
I don't know why I don't go for costumes. There's one year I dressed up as Mike Ditka with Anthony and Supergirl, and we had a lot of fun, and that was good. But I'm not a costume guy. I just can't come up with ideas. Once somebody gives me an idea, then I usually run with it. But I don't know.
So you know who Charlie Behrens is?
No.
The comedian?
No.
He was walking around in like a Fleet and Farm and showing everybody.
I know.
You know, so he took a toilet seat and put it over his head, and then had some like deer antlers, like a deer antler hat on his head, and he's like, "Look, John Deere." It's just like, that's awesome.
Some people are quick-witted like that.
All right. Any other information anybody wants to share to wrap this one up? I like what they're doing with the upgrade thing. Calling out Sandbaggers. Congratulations. Keep doing it. I think our podcast was running the last time they did it, and it was on a blog. It's supposedly one person that's doing it. I don't know who it is. If you are the person that does this and listens to this, which you may be listening to this, I have a feeling you probably are, and you feel like reaching out, by all means, reach out to us. I know somebody said that offered up the suggestion that we should put you on the podcast and use one of those voice things to make you seem like a nefarious individual and keep your identity secret. But, you know, not all heroes wear capes. Anybody got anything else? Go out and buy some chamois cream, buttonhole chamois cream. Go ahead and send us email at roadisdead@podcast. Road is dead, all one word, at gmail.com. That is our email. If you have anything you want us to talk about, any questions you want us to address, please email us there. If you want to enter into the drawing for chamois cream, just send us an email. Make sure you put your address in there. If you don't, I'm skipping you because it still happens. Apart from that, thank you for joining us and enjoy the ride.